No. I have to get out of here.
What the? Hello, everybody. I am Adam. This is Highly Articulated. Here we are on another lovely Sunday afternoon, or morning or evening, depending on where you're at, or Monday, if you're watching the replay, I suppose, or any other day, I guess, if you're watching the replay. Anyways, I'm here. You're here. Let's talk about toys. I had, full disclosure, I had sort of scheduled and sort of thought I was going to have a different video that was going to be going today. I was going to do a pre-recorded interview with Jason, the first in that sort of series that I'm kind of playing around with. But MCM London came around and banged me over the head with a whole bunch of cool stuff that I'm excited about. And so I want to talk about it. I realized that I haven't talked about the last couple toy conventions. I didn't talk about New York City Comic Con, and there's just other things that I missed. And there's been a few weeks where there hasn't been anything that I've been that excited about. But this week there is some stuff that I'm excited about. So let's talk toys. But before we do, let me just quickly say hello to those in the chat. Mr. Ryan Clark is here. Josh Brown is here. E McNeil 5844, I think that's probably what that's supposed to sound like. No Chewing is here as well, and JMac 774. Previously JMac 77. I don't remember seeing 774, but anyways. Oh, is that what it is? YouTube's sort of changed the names again. Yeah, they do it. They're a pain in the butt, but what can you do? Ryan Clark was asking, Josh, how's your Legions Con prep going? Josh said, printing is finished, trying to figure out the best packing arrangements. Yeah, that I it's nice for me because I just have to get myself there. I just have to pack my own suitcase within a suitcase for my haul, and then a couple changes of clothes and a toothbrush, and I'm pretty much good to go. Still don't know how I'm going to get from the airport to the hotel. I guess I could just Uber or whatever. Previous years I've been lucky that I've had people sort of offer me rides, and I still got to figure out a way to get to get my my supplies. When I go to conventions, I like to go to like Target or a Walgreens or something like that. Just sort of grab a couple things, couple drinks, couple snacks, things like that, just so that I have access to that kind of thing, because you can't travel with that stuff, right? So I don't know. I think there's a Wegmans really close to the venue, and again, I could probably just Uber there or something like that, but we'll see. That's always the first thing I need to do when I get to a convention is get my essentials. Sorry, the camera's driving me crazy. So that I feel like I'm settled in. I don't feel like I'm settled into this video right now because this camera is annoying me. Am I okay with that? No, I don't like that. I'm good. Whatever. Who cares? You guys probably don't. Josh Brown says, I just got some new con shoes and I'm excited for my feet not to hurt like last year. Man, good shoes is wildly underrated for conventions. And I have had good luck with my shoes. So I don't have any complaints there. I didn't get any new ones for this convention. I have in the last couple of years, it's just sort of timed itself that way that I've had new shoes. But anyway, enough about that. Ray Paz 2947. Again, I'm pretty sure that's a YouTube thing, changing the names, but it says, "Hey all, hope you all had a good weekend." Yeah, I mean we're nearly at the end of the weekend, which is a bummer, but such is life. Let's see here. There, that's better. And then okay, I'm good. I'm done. I'm not going to touch the camera anymore. Let's talk toys, because that's what I said we were going to do, and that's what you're here for. I haven't talked about this yet, and I do have some thoughts. I'm not going to go too in depth with it, but before we talk about the MCM London stuff, I did very, very briefly want to talk about the Tron HasLab. I love it. I think this is a really, really cool project. However, I don't see the value at $260. That's my only complaint about the Tron HasLab. I think, any way I kind of break up the pricing, based on, and this is purely based on, things that I've bought in the past from Hasbro, right? Anyway, I break up the pricing, it just doesn't add up. I think if this was, $199, I would okay, at $199, I think I would have backed this. $260 is just too high. It's just a little bit too far. And everybody's mileage, will vary, right? There are people that have backed this. There's not nearly enough people to back this, to actually fund it. I think this thing is dead in the water. However, I do think it's a really, really cool offering. I don't think that they sold it. I don't think that they sold it very well. I don't think that the the HasLab, page is as compelling as some other HasLabs have been. I don't know that the little video sells it enough. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't even feel like they're quite convinced that it's worth $260. But that being said, I'm kind of looking at, and this is just, like I said, this is my logic. This is how I work through this. I look at the 5 figures, and even if those are $30 a piece, which they, probably shouldn't be. I mean, looking at similar stuff, right? 3.75 inch, which is what the Star Wars Vintage Collection is. Those figures have been raised up to $20. So if these are priced at $30, that's still extremely high for what Hasbro typically does. But at $30 a piece, you got $150. Then you've got the light cycles, which really, I mean, I don't think they have any moving parts. I don't see any wheels or anything like that. I have not seen any video or anything that tells me otherwise. So it looks like it's just kind of this clamshell thing that closes around the figure, and then it has the energy sort of whatever that is called coming out the back. So, another $30 each for those, realistically, considering what they are. You're at, what's that? I guess 210 if those are $30, and then so $50 for the base. I don't know. Like, it, maybe that's how they're sort of breaking it down. But realistically, if I'm sort of comparing this And you can't compare, it's not apples to apples, right? You can't compare this stuff. If you realistically look at, Star Wars Vintage Collection, which is 3.75 inches, which is the same as what this is. You look at the G.I. Joe figures that they did a couple years back in sort of this size and stuff like that. If you look at even what Super 7 is doing with Reaction Plus, if you look at what I guess Haya and like Joy Toy and stuff like that is more expensive, but arguably you are getting very, very elaborate figures with a lot of accessories. In the case of Joy Toy, you have completely removable armor and multiple weapons and on and on and on. That gets reused a whole bunch of times, but still, that's, again, I'm not trying to compare apples to apples, or I'm not suggesting that that's an apples to apples comparison. I'm objectively looking at what Hasbro has offered, sort of in a similar size, form, function, and stuff like that. I think those figures are about $20 a piece. I think the light cycle's still only about $30. And I think that the display stand for it really is, 20, maybe $30. So that's what, $200, right? Like that was that, and that's where my math sort of lands, right? My math sort of lands on this is probably worth to me $200. And anything over that seems too high. And I know that HasLab is supposed to be, like a dream thing, and it's supposed to be something that you would never get otherwise. I think we could get these otherwise. That's why I don't know that this HasLab has really hit the way that some others have. I feel like you could just release these, single carded, and people would probably buy everything. You could even release the grid. You could release the game board thing as its own standalone thing, or do what the other thing I thought is you could do 2 light cycles, blue and yellow, as standalone. You could buy them in box, and then you could do the grid with another light cycle or two, a red light cycle or whatever. And this could all be, retail, at the very best, or at the very least, I guess it could be Hasbro Pulse exclusive, or fan channel exclusive, or whatever, however you want to do it. I mean, I genuinely think that these would sell if the price point was right. The irony, there's another picture. This face right here on Flynn is kind of how I feel about this, which is why I included that picture. He looks like he's not impressed, and it just feels off. Something about this offering feels off. I do think it's interesting that they're using a lot of this Hasbro 375 logo on every picture, which makes me think that they have more ideas that they want to do in this 375 scale. And I really hope that this doesn't affect that, because I think, the 375 1/18th scale really is great for world building. More on that at the end of the video. But I genuinely hope that this doesn't affect other things that Hasbro wants to do, especially stuff that Hasbro wants to do in terms of Tron. Because at New York Comic Con, as well as MCM London, and they had this big, Hasbro Pulse London, and like, come join us and stuff. Their logo for London is way better than the MCM London logo, which is why I brought that up. But they're doing 6-inch Tron stuff. I'm confused by why they would do a 3 3/4-inch HasLab for the original Tron, and then do 6-inch scale for Legacy. But I'm also confused as why they are doing 6-inch scale for Legacy with like 10 years, more than 10 years after the movie came out, with Ares being out and being a box office disappointment. I just don't know what's going on with Tron as a property in terms of what Hasbro is doing with it. I love Tron as a property. Have not seen Ares, full disclosure. Have not seen Ares. I don't have an IMAX theater where I live, so it there's not the same draw to sort of get there and see it. I don't have great theaters where I live, so I would like to see it in the theater. but I don't need to see it in the theater. I probably have a better setup at home in terms of the experience than I would, to go to a theater, if I'm being perfectly honest. Um, but I love Tron. I love, the property. I loved the original. I loved Legacy. I loved the cartoon, which most people didn't even watch. Tron Uprising, I think is what it's called, which is technically the sequel to Legacy. But yeah, as a property, I don't know what they're doing with the Tron. But these look amazing. The 6-inch scale figures look amazing, and I hope that they still do these, and I hope that these aren't affected by what is, I mean, I think at this point a failed Kickstarter for that Tron HasLab. Not a Kickstarter. I was Kickstarter on the brain, but Ray Pass says that's $150 at most. 100 should have been 125. Like I said, I probably would have gone as high as 200. And again, it's sort of subject to personal preference and sort of how much value you put into anything. I just saw this comment. Game Quest said, good afternoon. Shout out to all of Adam's recent unboxing videos. Thank you. I have had, just like probably a lot of you, a lot of deliveries, a lot of Hasbro stuff. I've got some Cyberzoic stuff coming. I picked up some other stuff too. I have been sort of desperate to get the Super 7 Ultimate Scythe, and eCollectibles actually found one in the warehouse, and it was up on their site, and I was a little bit confused because Vulture Man's been sold out forever. Scythe was sold out forever, and I just went on there, and it must have been somebody, canceled an order or something like that, or they had miscounted or something. They had one of each. I ordered them right away. So on Wednesday, I'm opening Scythe and Vulture Man from the Super 7 Ultimates. But I've been having a lot of fun doing the unboxings, and I've been having a lot of fun with toys again. I've had a little bit of time to do it, and I've sort of found time. I've gotten a little bit better with sort of managing the time and sort of getting a little quicker with the editing and stuff like that. So thank you. That means a lot to me, genuinely, because I went back and was sort of looking at videos that I had done and stuff like that. And I realized that, I was prolific's the wrong word, but, I was pretty steady and pretty consistent. And then right around the end of March, right around the end of the Zombies Kickstarter, I was a little bit burnt out, admittedly, and so I took some time off, more or less. I was still around, but now I'm back, and it's great. I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be doing videos, and I've still got a list of stuff that I need to do videos for. So stay tuned. I guess this is where I say, if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification button so that you can catch more of those videos. Do it if you want. Don't do it if you don't want. There will be I do try to do some membership stuff. So again, I very rarely, if ever, promote it, but I think membership is like 99 cents. If you want to become a member, there is some content that you will see there that you won't see in the regular channel, and I hope to sort of keep that up going forward. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Ryan Clark said stretch goals might have helped with the perceived value. Maybe. I mean, I think, what would you, I think the offering of figures in terms of what they could have done for stretch goals, I think program could have been a stretch goal. I think a red light cycle could have been a stretch goal. So I think they could have changed it a little bit, but hindsight's 2020. I was literally reading comments today about what we could have done better with the Space Zombies from Mars Kickstarter. And while people weren't wrong, it was sort of like, from a certain point of view, right? Like you can always look at it from a certain point of view and go, oh, they should have done this or they should have done this. But maybe there's costing that we don't know about. Maybe there's something about, what Disney said, okay, here's what you have to have, and you don't want to do stretch goals or whatever. You never know. But whatever, transpired to get us to this point. It is what it is. I also think, not for nothing, but like Hasbro didn't consult me, obviously. But if this base was a black light and the figures were black light reactive, so that they kind of looked on your display the way that the original Tron looked on your screen, I think that would have been a selling feature. I think that could have been a pretty big selling feature. I think that they could have figured out how to use the base to kind of light up the light cycles and light up these sort of energy fin things. That would have been a selling feature. I just don't think there's like, I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, it just seems flat. Anyway, moving on. Enough Tron. I hope they do these. I really love these figures. These would fit really well in with other lines too. I think this would be a cool sort of set of figures to add. And I think in this line, you could do the legacy waves. You could have legacy characters, and I think there's more legacy figures that you could do. There's some pretty good looking designs of characters. I think they could put Daft Punk in. I think they could do like a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Daft Punk 2-pack with their sort of their board set up and stuff. I think that would be super dope. Whether Daft Punk would want to do that, whether Hasbro would want to do that, I don't know, but I would buy that. But I really do hope that these figures get made. The light cycle that they've got for this looks cool. The figure looks like he fits on it really, really well. Again, I think in this line, if there's success in the first couple waves with the legacy stuff, I think they could go back and revisit it and do the Tron original characters in this form function and sort of tie it together that way. I don't know why they did, a 3 3/4 inch line and a 6-inch line. That seems like they spread themselves too thin. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Brian Brink says, when they said the front wheel doesn't spin, I was out even before I saw the price. Yeah, and that's I feel like, HasLab, Dream Project, price is no limit. Make them cooler. Anyways. Josh Brown says, this almost feels like a market test or something. Almost. Like it feels like they were just like, oh, do people care about Tron? Not when you screw it up. I think that's the problem, is you can't offer a subpar product and then, kind of turn around and go, see, nobody cares. It's like, well, no, people love Tron. You just keep butchering it. Larry's Geeky World is here. Hello. Good to have you. Josh Brown says, with other HasLabs, there are actual prototypes and stuff, right? These renders aren't helping. Looks cheap. They do have physical figures, and I didn't pull any of the pictures, but MCM London actually had this on display. And to be honest, they didn't look good. They looked like the paint masters did not look good. The paint looked sloppy, which is not a way to sell your product. I didn't want to sort of add insult to injury and show them. Is honestly why I don't have that picture. No Chewing says, I think the figure should have come with more stuff to justify the price, faceplates and more effects. I don't think they did a good job of showing you sort of what, and I think they've added more pictures, but I think the damage was already done. I mean, I think in terms of posing them and stuff like that, the discs do attach to the back. They did have a picture with sort of one character kind of deflecting another disc. If you know the film, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, go watch Tron. It's amazing. It's awesome. Yeah, the offering is good. It's just not good enough to be a HasLab and to warrant the price. Should have dropped the board and priced it lower. I like the board. I actually genuinely like the board, and I think as a HasLab, it makes sense. But again, as I said, it feels like a weird way of testing the waters on whether people want a Tron action figure. Because I would buy the action figures off the shelf. That's what I'm saying. Is like if they were priced correctly, I would buy them. From eCollectibles or BBTS or Hasbro Pulse or wherever. But there's like no demand for it, and then you just sort of drop this whole thing in people's lap at $260. I just think it's like it's a bridge too far. Like I just don't think people can get there because they didn't even know that you were going to lead them there. Anyway. And yeah, the 6-inch figures are coming. So Allison Troy is here. It says Tron Ares was a meh. Most of it is not set in the computer world. Most of it is on Earth. I now know that, and I, for one, am very disappointed. I hadn't watched any trailers. I hadn't watched any spoilers. I didn't know what the context was going to be. They did kind of hint at that in Legacy. There was. I haven't watched Legacy in a long time, but I do believe at the end there was sort of the suggestion that could potentially happen. I've heard that Ares visually is quite good, but that there's virtually no story, which is very disappointing. But also Tron on Earth, like if I'm going to have Tron on Earth, I really, really need it to be justified in terms of the writing. I need there to be a reason, and not just because somebody wanted to put a light cycle in New York City. So I expect to be underwhelmed as far as like the story and the writing and certainly the acting. But I think Tron's always kind of been a visual thing anyway, so we'll see. I will watch it. I'm not going to not watch it, but Allison says I want the Quora, otherwise I'm good. That's fair. Like I said, I love Tron. So Josh Brown says Kickstarter on the brain. I was what I was actually doing is I was reading the comments from a video that we did during the Kickstarter campaign of Space Zombies from Mars that I kind of blocked out in my memory that I should go back and reply to the comments. So that's what I was doing today. I've said it a couple times and I'll say it again. We're still working on Space Zombies, and that's all I will share today. But I may have more to share next week. So stay tuned. Tune in next week. I may have more to share as far as Space Zombies from Mars goes. Yeah. Brian Brink says I started watching Uprising a couple weeks ago. I have a few episodes left. Really liking it. It's a prequel to Legacy. Okay, I thought it was a sequel to Legacy, but it did come out. I think it came out right around the same time as Legacy, and I couldn't remember if it came out right before or right after. And I watched it then. So like I said, like 10 plus years ago, probably like 15 years ago. I don't remember when Legacy came out, but anyway. No Chewing says I'm all in for these Tron Legacy figures. Red 5, glad to see you more often. Yes, I am. I'm back. Josh Brown says a stretch goal should be $60 off. Fair enough. Mod Extra GC says, what's up? How's it going? I was at MCM, just got home a short while ago. I'm exhausted. If MCM is anything like San Diego, I can imagine. It looks like it's similar, maybe not quite as big, but Mr. Ryan Clark, that legit boggles me. How do you make Tron figures that don't glow in some way? Right? It seems like a no-brainer. It seems like an absolute missed opportunity. And even with these Legacy figures, I hope they can figure out some way to get them to sort of glow under black light or something, because I mean, that's Tron in a nutshell. Maybe that's why there hasn't been, a lot of success with Tron toys in the past. I don't know. Brian Brink says, I'm beginning to think Hasbro shouldn't do crowdfunds for properties they don't own. Instead, perhaps partner with the license owner to share in the tooling cost and have deferred profit allocation. Yeah, I don't know. Or don't do HasLabs that aren't for things that people have been asking for. With any okay, and I will say this: there's probably people that have been asking for a good, Tron figure. Obviously, there's been Tron figures in the past, but they objectively haven't been great. I think just doing a line of figures would have made way more sense. And even if they said, hey, we're doing a wave of, original, we're doing a wave of legacy, and we're doing a wave of Ares, and that's all we intend to do. If the market demands it because there's huge response and people want more, we could go back and do more. Like, present it that way. Not like, hey, are you willing to spend $260 on something that's untested that we may not do anything else to sort of go with this? Like, that's crazy. Anyway, Brick is here. He says, just in time for the Tron talk. I don't get Hasbro's move on either the HasLab or the Legacy 112 figures. I like those 375 figures. Definitely not at those prices. Objectively, I don't see the value of the offering matching the asking price. I'm right there with you. Bums me out. Don't think the IP needs the damage. Yeah, I mean, Ares sounds like it's doing enough damage for the brand. Counterpoint, Tron Ares was fun, and I thought a pretty thoughtful installment into the series that does the work to tie all three films together. Their story. Okay, so that, I mean, that's very contrary to what I've kind of heard from most reviews. As I said, I'm still excited to see it. I'm not rushing to the theater to see it, but Brian Brink says if Tron on Earth is a failure, maybe the Motu movie should just throw it in the towel now. Oh man. Yeah. Josh Brown says go back Mythic XD, by the way. Yes, go back Mythic XD. I'm in Canada, so I can't. But yeah. Larry's Geeky World, will you be at Legions Con? Yes, I will, and I'll be talking about Legions Con next week. I'm going to do sort of like what I'm looking forward to at Legions Con, what I'm expecting, all that kind of stuff. More to share next week. Curiosity engaged. Yeah, hopefully. I got to confirm with Arlen what we want to share. But yeah, there's definitely a lot going on with Space Zombies from Mars right now. And I'll be honest, it's been hard not to share what we're sort of working on, but yeah, and Brick says the oversimplified critique of their Jared Leto and Tron that might impact people's perception of the Motu movie. Yeah, it'll be interesting. But I hope that studios can sort of objectively look at what they're offering and just sort of look at what they're offering and not look at what's happening outside, because what happens with Tron doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen with something else. And what happens, but I do think there is one thing. I do think that studios kind of keep trying to blame something, but nobody seems to be saying like people are going to the theater less or people are going to the theater differently now. And so I think there's a very different conversation that's like not being had about movies in general and how streaming has affected that, and how the timeline of like when a movie is going to be available in your house has dramatically changed how people go to the theater. The price of going to the theater doesn't get talked about as much as maybe it could or should. On and on and on, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I realize that this is like my fourth slide and I have more than four, so let's move on. Let me see. I'm going to skim through some of these. Let's see. And Brick says, Tron Ares Earth stuff makes perfect sense to me where Legacy left things. Yes, that's kind of what I thought too. And like I said, as long as they can bridge the gap from the world inside the computer to the world outside the computer, I'm kind of okay with them being outside of the computer. But Gady's toy says, me. I want Tron figures. Also me. Not like that. Yeah, I Anyways, I don't think there's a Canadian retailer for Mythic XD. Um, Mike was saying that there was when he was on Toying Around with Kevin, but I can't yet figure out what he was talking about. I think it just means that BBTS will ship them to Canada, which is fair, but I can also just buy them from Mike at conventions. So, and I may get another wall at Legion's Con, but anyway. Okay, let's move past Tron. Oh, I also wanted to say that Lego did Tron really well. I have this set and it's awesome. I think it's worth a pretty penny now. But you got Flynn Jr., I guess. Was it right? Flynn's kid. You got the Rizzler. Is that his name? Now I forget. And Quora. And you got 2 light cycles, and you got like a cool base. It was basically the HasLab, but for Legacy. But it was Lego, and it was, you know, 40 or 50 bucks, and it's an awesome set. Anyways, let's move on to some GI Joe stuff. I'm not going to go too in depth. I'm just going to look at figures that were actually physically revealed. I'm not going to talk about the name only reveals, although Hydro Viper, I'm excited for Hydro Viper. But that is all I will say on that. And Mr. Ryan Clark said last time Kevin sold a few Wall XDs to Canadians for Mike. Yeah, and I got some Wall XD stuff from Mike at shows that I've gone to. So, anyways, hey, what's going on, buddy? Good to have you. Rensler, the Rizzler is a child influencer for some reason. Rensler, yes, I knew it was wrong when I was saying it, but I couldn't remember what it was supposed to be. Anyways. This is Crazy Legs. He has crazy legs and a crazy face. This is basically a complete re-release of the Crazy Legs that came with the Dragonfly. The only difference, of course, being that weird screaming head sculpt, which looks odd. This is a pass for me. I never cared for Crazy Legs, so it's kind of an easy pass for me. Then we got the retro carded Crimson Guard female version, which is great. I'm all for getting, you know, all the female figures that we can. You know, all the women in GI Joe are amazing, and I can't wait for more. This one is going to be a pass, but this is sort of a pass with the hope that we get a non-retro carded one, and that it's in the darker crimson red that matches the regular release Crimson Guard. This one matches the retro carded Crimson Guard, but I didn't get those ones. I got the regular ones, so I hope they do the regular one in this version as well. Zap looks phenomenal. Zap looks really, really good. This is a retro carded figure that I will buy. Although I will say this, I am a little bit annoyed as a collector that for the original figures, for the original 13 Joes, is that how many there are? The 13? Something like that. Of the original 1982 Joes, we've gotten a weird mix of you know, single figures, 2-pack figures, retro card, normal line. Like, it's a little bit messy, and they don't all line up as well as I would like them to. I would like them to all either be retro carded, kind of vintage, you know, hard vintage inspired, or, you know, classified ones and have the Joe Pro and have, you know, a couple kind of modern updates. But the fact that we're getting some retro carded and some, you know, regular release, and like, it's confusing to the point where I was mapping out which ones I already have and which of the ones that I already have are, you know, vintage ones and which ones are retro ones. And so I'm just, Zap looks great. Definitely going to pick him up. but also partly hoping that they do a regular classified line version of him, a non-retro version of him. Um, like I'm just thinking of like Breaker. We got Breaker with the motorcycle, but then we got a second version of Breaker, which is I think meant to be more like the vintage version. One figure, but it's regular release. And we got the 2-pack of Steeler, and I can't remember who's in that 2-pack. That's not even out yet. As a standard release, we got Stalker that was a standard release that looks amazing in his updated version. But then we also got a retro carded Stalker. We've got 2 versions of Rock and Roll, one being standard, one being retro. Scarlet, we got regular and retro carded. And the retro carded still looks kind of modern. So I don't know. It's just confusing. And I feel like that's enough talking about Zap and my frustration with the release and how they're doing it. But what is the female Crimson Guard has too many fingers on the glove in the art? Does she? I don't think she does. No. I mean, I'm looking as close as I can. I don't think so. But you've made me look. Gatey's Toy says Crazy Legs is my After Dark name. Brick says Zap looks great. He was my very first Real American Hero figure as a kid. Yeah, they look great. And Brick says, yeah, 13. So what I get confused by is there was 13 original Joes, and then I think people, when they say the original 13, aren't factoring in Cobra Commander, the Cobra Trooper, and the Cobra Officer. I think there's 16 figures, including drivers, in G.I. Joe in 1982. And that's where the original 13 refers only to the Joes, not to the Cobra ones as well. I think. I was trying to count them this morning, and I was getting myself confused. Anyway. Bouchamer, Christopher Bouchard, I presume, after his YouTube name has been changed again, says, I got the new classified sci-fi and Desert Scorpion. I ordered those too. Excited for those. Very excited for those. E. McNeil, down for the female Crimson Guard and Zap. Yeah, very cool. I'm excited by these. They've had a lot of really solid releases. I missed Pythona because I'm not a Pulse member. So I'm, counting down to, what is it, November 3rd, next Monday, to get Pythona. So yeah, GI Joe, the classified line still, I keep thinking like, there's not that many more figures I want, or not that many characters I still want. And while there are more figures that I'm passing on now than I was, 5 years ago when the line started, I still pick up a decent amount of GI Joe classified figures. Maybe too many. Anyway, moving on to some Star Wars stuff. I am, as some of you may know, I have fallen deep down the vintage collection rabbit hole. I'm looking at a whole bunch of them on my desk. I still have a whole bunch that I haven't opened. I still have a whole bunch that are on the way. I'm loving the vintage collection stuff for world building because the ships don't take up as much space. These are just the physical reveals from MCM London. This is Maul with kind of, I don't exactly know which phase of life this is for Maul. Not a figure that I need, but a cool looking figure for sure. And I think, discount price, I'd probably pick this guy up. The Stranger looks awesome. I rewatched Acolyte because I know how much people like to dislike the Acolyte. I rewatched a bunch of these sort of shorter Star Wars live action series recently. I don't think Obi-Wan holds up. I think Obi-Wan, people were really excited about it. And, you got Obi-Wan, you got Vader, you got Leia, you got some characters that you knew. And so I think people were excited about that. It doesn't hold up. Obi-Wan is probably my least favorite Star Wars show. That's probably not true. Probably like Tales of the Empire is but as far as like the live action sort of big ticket stuff, Brian, I just saw your comment and it threw me off. Yes. Um The Acolyte I rewatched, and I've said this before. I wasn't super excited about The Acolyte because the High Republic stuff doesn't necessarily do it for me. But I really think that show was good, and it was well done, and I like the story, and I like the characters, and I for one want more. I want to see the second part of that story arc because I feel like um what happened at the end of season 1 or series 1 or the end of the show, I guess effectively at this point. I felt like there was more story to tell. I wanted more of the stranger. I wanted more of what's going to happen to the characters, after. I don't want to spoil it, like, I mean, everybody's seen it. I don't know why I'm sort of talking like this. But if you haven't seen it, watch The Acolyte. It is worth it. I want more of it. I want more of The Acolyte, more than I want more Obi-Wan story. So, anyways, this figure looks fantastic. Whoops. This figure looks fantastic. It looks great. You got that soft goods sort of overlaid over the sort of, for me, very interesting spin on sort of Jedi robes. He's still kind of got what are effectively robes, but then he's got no sleeves, and he's got that sort of arm gauntlet that can seemingly like deflect lightsabers, as can his helmet, I think, or something. I don't know. It was confusing. He looks great. The character looks great. I was shocked when, this actor who I knew from The Good Place became this character, and it was like, hold on a second. And then the female interest in the Acolyte as a result of a particular scene where he's bathing, was not unwarranted. I mean, he is a very fit looking, attractive man. He rightfully sort of was was sort of in the spotlight for a moment there. So yeah, this figure looks great. I think I'm gonna pre-order this, which is weird, because I kind of was getting Star Wars vintage collection stuff as world building stuff, but now I'm kind of, maybe past that a little bit. Now I'm pre-ordering vintage collection figures, and this will be a pre-order one for me. This Vader, I'm also very, very excited about. I missed the Return of the Jedi Vintage Collection Vader, which I still really, really want to get that unmasked head. But this is a really, really cool one. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that he's got a translucent head. This was available in a 3-pack, or is available in a 3-pack right now. Translucent head with like a skull inside the translucent head to make it look like when Palpatine, spoiler alert, I guess, for this one too. When Palpatine uses Force Lightning, on Luke, and then the Force Lightning sort of transfers to Vader, when he picks him up, and you can see, there's that sort of flash of the skull, when in the movie, which I always thought was a really, really cool scene. Now I'm kind of like, well, how would that work? But anyways, this figure looks amazing too. You get that Force Lightning, you get the severed hand, you get the translucent head. This checks a whole lot of boxes for me. So again, this one is a day one pre-order for sure. There he is with the Force Lightning in the hand off. Like, how cool is that? That looks cool. I think you can kind of see the skull in there if you look really closely. Well, you could see like where the temple of the skull is right there, and then you can sort of see the eye sockets. They're darker compared to the sort of whiteness of the skull. And now, is it a skull, or is it the unmasked face? I don't know, but I really want this figure, because it looks cool. It's a cool one. Then I got to get there's an Emperor's Throne Room set, to go with this too. But anyway, actually, let me go back. I'll go back here because I was talking about this a bunch and you guys were commenting. Ross says, I forgot the Obi-Wan show existed. Yeah. Let's see. Brick Something says that's Maul back from the dead. Post his DIY spider legs because Star Wars. Acolyte's rad. Ken Best 76 has sold off all my Black Series for TVC for the same reason. So much more room for activities. Brian Brink, I can bring a Pythonic to Legions Con for you. Dude, if you would, that would be amazing. Message me, because that will mean that I don't have to like stress out on Monday morning when I'm probably going to be at work or on my way to work. Gatey's Toy says Acolyte had a story to tell and had more to tell. 100%. I think I think that was a case of like the studio listening to the wrong people. Really enjoyed Acolyte. Looking forward to getting that BS Black Series, Quamir or The Stranger. Yeah, and I was tempted by that one, to be honest, because there wasn't a vintage collection one, but now there's a vintage collection one, so I don't have to get the Black Series one. Brick says, I finally got a Pinoy in a lead role in Star Wars, and now I doubt he'll ever be seen again. I need to see him, Plagueis, and the twin story resolved. Yeah, that would be good. And his gauntlets can depower sabers, pulled from Legends. Again, you know, and this is, you know, I mean, I don't know how you would do it, right? I don't know how you can, you know, I think people that love to hate Star Wars will just hate anything that they do with Star Wars forever. In perpetuity, you'll get people that just like, they'll put out something new and people go, no, it's not the original trilogy, so it's crap. And you know, but I'm thinking like, well, how could you let people know where this comes from? Like, how do you kind of get that information across? And I think that's one of Star Wars' biggest problems, is that like, for people that like really love Star Wars and like read the novels and read the comic books and watch the, you know, the web series and stuff that sort of tie all these things together, I think they can appreciate all this stuff. I think a lot of stuff gets overlooked. I think there's a lot of little Easter eggs that people really nerd out on, but some people kind of go, well, that's a wasted detail. That's a dumb thing. Why did they include that? Because it's cool. You know, like, what, you know, they pulled this from Legends. Like, well, that's really cool. Yeah, and he depowered the sabers. That's right. That's right. Like, if he hit them with the gauntlet, they would like turn off for, you know, a period of time, which was so cool. You know, seeing the Jedi's lightsabers turn off and then they're kind of like smacking them like it's a flashlight and the batteries are dying. It was like a weird moment, but really, really good. Manny Jacinto bodied that role. I don't know if you mean embodied or if you mean bodied, but he bodied that role for sure. And Brick says, I didn't quite like his disguise acting, but still paid off. I actually really liked his disguise acting. He felt like the character from A Good Place. And so I was like, oh, I know who this guy is. Like, I recognize this guy. And then I think to have that turn was what really worked, because he went from the sort of bumbling idiot to this, which I thought was a really good turn. Yeah, GameQuest says a sleeper skeleton fan. No, I'm not. Don't get my words twisted. I still don't like skeletons. Yeah, the twist was magnificent. I thought it was good. I thought it was cool. Gatey's Toy says, I think there were some more racist, homophobic hate towards Acolyte before it even aired. Never stood a chance. I don't. I'll be honest. I don't ever look at the negative stuff. Like when people put out their hit pieces on, you know, Star Wars or whatever, I never watch it. I never read it. I have no interest in that stuff. I love Star Wars, and I just, you know, give me more Star Wars, and I'll be happy. It doesn't even have to be good. You know, that's kind of the thing for me. There's never. Okay, I should never say never. I don't think there's ever going to be anything that replaces Return of the Jedi in my mind as the best Star Wars there ever will be. But there something has to be the Obi-Wan series. Something has to be the worst Star Wars. Just by definition. If there's a best, there has to be a worst. You like the idea that everything is just going to be better and better and better. Like, that's not how it works. That's just so why can't people just enjoy stuff for what it is? And if you don't like it, just leave it alone. Yeah, it says that's with all the fandom. Most people just don't like new things. There is, look, don't get me wrong. We're talking about Star Wars and G.I. Joe and Tron and all these things. Like, there's so much nostalgia baked into this stuff that I understand when people get upset. That it's not what they wanted or not what they imagined it was going to be, or not whatever, not my Star Wars or not my whatever. That's fine. You don't have to like everything. And I'm not here trying to like tell people that they have to. But maybe give it a chance. And maybe, just maybe, if you give it a chance, you'll like it. And if you don't, you can say, I don't like that, and move on. Because this is exactly it, Josh. The worst is someone else's favorite. Exactly. And you don't know. I sell bicycles, and one thing that I I can't remember how it sort of came up, but just in the years and years that I've been selling bicycles, one thing that I've learned is that when somebody comes in with a bicycle that needs repair, you have to treat every bicycle as though it's somebody's favorite bicycle. Because somebody comes in with an absolute junker of a bike, but maybe they've had it for 30 years, and maybe before that their dad had it, and there's a whole bunch of nostalgia in it, and they want to maintain it, and it means something more to them than just what the bicycle is. You can't determine how somebody else feels about something else. So there's no point in trying to sort of tell people what they should or shouldn't think or how they should feel. And there's no point in telling somebody that something that they like isn't valid or valuable to them. You can objectively say your own subjective opinion and say, I don't like that, but you can't say that that is trash because I don't like it. That ain't how it works. E. McNeil, that's kind of my feeling. The more adventures there are in the Star Wars mythos, the better. Yes, absolutely. Give me more. I'm really excited for Ahsoka season 2. I'm really excited for Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm really excited for the last Starfighter. Is that an actual movie? What's the Ryan Gosling movie called? It has a name, but I can't remember what the name is. But I'm really excited about it. Anyway, moving on from Star Wars to Marvel Legends, which I don't buy a lot of Marvel Legends. Certainly not as much as I used to, but they're putting out cool stuff. And, I'm looking at the Rachel Summers Phoenix and the Feral that I still have to unbox. I'm excited. That's, the Excalibur issue 1 team complete for me. And I think that's the X-Force issue 1 team complete as well, if I'm not mistaken. So Marvel Legends, they're still there, and they still sneak up on me with some cool stuff. This Sentinel 2-pack looks cool. I didn't play the game. I've played it, as far as I know, one time, and that was at Legions Con 2 years ago. Legions Con, or was it Joe Fest? Maybe it was Joe Fest 2 years ago with the Creative Beast guys. We played it. We're just hanging out in the hotel. David had brought this like simulator, and it had the Marvel this game that this stuff all comes from. It was fun, but it doesn't, I don't know anything about it. These look weird to me. I don't remember the Sentinels ever being these colors, but I've seen the clips from the game now, so I guess they were at some point. Josh Brown says pick up those Sentinels. There may be some heads for those bad boys. Yeah, you did the Machu and J Shot heads, right? To go with these guys. So that's very, very cool. Mr. Ryan Clark says Jedi Starfighter. The Last Starfighter is a dope 80s movie. I know that, but I couldn't remember if it was Jedi Starfighter is the new one. For some reason I thought it was like Star Wars The Last Starfighter, but it might just be Jedi Starfighter. That doesn't sound right either. But I'll take your word for it. Jedi Starfighter is Luke Skywalker, isn't it? Is there another Jedi that's going to be a Starfighter? Is he a Jedi? Is Ryan Gosling a Jedi? I don't know. Again, Star Wars, I don't watch trailers. I don't read anything. I saw that picture of Ryan Gosling on a boat and they're like, we're filming. And I was like, okay. Anyways, Marvel Legends. Let's keep going. The Sentinels look cool. I don't need them, but they look cool. This I do need. Diamond form Emma Frost. This looks really, really cool. I've seen people kind of criticize it for just being like ice form Emma Frost, not really diamond, because it should be glittery or something like that. But I'm down. I think this figure looks cool. I like that it comes with the Danger Room programming manual and that the mutant research folder. You get an alternate head too. You get what looks like an angry head and kind of a smirking head. Regardless, translucent Emma Frost. I'm down. These two look amazing. I know that 2099 Spider-Man has been revealed before. I think that Spider-Man 2099 was revealed at New York Comic Con, but it's in this wave. They announced the rest of the wave, which includes the Uncanny Spider-Man, which is in fact, spoiler alert, Nightcrawler, who is if anybody asks me who my favorite X-Man is, it's Nightcrawler. Although I have others that sort of jostle for like position number one, but he's top 3 all the time, number 1 most of the time. Uncanny Spider-Man, Nightcrawler, taking over the mantle of Spider-Man for a short time. I think it's like 5 issues. There's probably a trade. Check it out. Cool concept. Really, really cool suit. He looks rad. The figure that you get the little bamf effect, the little sort of teleporting effect, you get alternate hands, and you get a sword, and it's a different sword. And that's important because very often Nightcrawler is depicted with multiple swords. And as it stands right now, I only have 1 sword for my Nightcrawler. So this is going to add, a second sword for my other versions of Nightcrawler as well. This is arguably the sort of most exciting reveal for me from MCM London. The Joe stuff was cool. The vintage collection stuff was cool, but I think Uncanny Spider-Man might be the coolest because I just didn't see this one coming. I think I have said that if they did this figure, I would be super excited, and I am, but I genuinely did not think that they were ever going to make this figure. So anyways, let's see. These Sentinels remind me of Superman and Lex Luthor. That's fair. Brian Brink says it's just Starfighter, just like he's just Mr. Ryan Clark says, no joke, I've wanted an owl figure for years. Now we need a gladiator, yellow shirt, buzzsaw guy. Okay, I don't know who that gladiator is. I genuinely don't know who Owl is either. Although he's on a Spider-Man card, so I imagine he is a Spider-Man, character. I don't even think I don't have a slide. I don't even have a slide for Owl. The figure looks cool, but not on my radar. So not something I'm talking about. That's there was lots of other stuff from MCM London that I'm not going to talk about because I don't know anything about it. They're Daredevil villains primarily. Fair enough. Okay. I definitely don't know Daredevil. Katie's Toy says, I kind of want that owl accessory. But who is the owl? Who indeed. All right. Let's move on, shall we? Two more sort of pieces of news, and then we will wrap it up. Brick says, congrats, Ryan. It's got to be so hard for the Legends teams to balance which corner of the Marvel audience they cater waves to. I love when they do classic comic stuff like this. I do too. I genuinely like that a lot of the Marvel Legends stuff, I go, who? Because that probably means that somewhere there's a Mr. Ryan Clark who is going, finally, or saying to themselves, I never thought that they were going to make this figure. And honestly, like, Wolverine's cool, Spider-Man's cool, Captain America's cool. Those are cool. But you've got lots of those figures. Genuinely, when they do something like Owl, when they do something like insert your favorite character that they've made recently here, I'm genuinely excited for people, because I think too that as much as people criticize Hasbro, and oftentimes rightfully so, corporation wise, they do make plenty of missteps, lots of missteps. But the brand teams that are doing these things, the Marvel brand team, the G.I. Joe brand team, the Star Wars brand team, probably the Tron brand team, if there is one or whatever, the Ghostbusters guys. I know people are really excited about all the Ectoglow stuff. Like, I think genuinely there's a lot of really great people working on these properties. And I think that truly, when you get these characters that people love, and we all have our own perspective bias, in somebody's world, Owl is like the figure that we've always needed, Ryan Clark. I'm sure that somebody has to know that that figure is not going to sell as well as if they just did another Spider-Man, or another Daredevil, or another Wolverine, or whatever. And I know that people are like, oh, we have too many Spider-Mans, I'm never going to buy another one. And then they just buy another one. So it's, the evergreen characters are easy sells. Uncanny Spider-Man, I'm not going to lie, Uncanny Spider-Man is probably one of those characters that most people are scratching their head, because this is a character that only came out, I want to say, like 2 years ago. Might have been in the last year even. I can't remember now. It's recent though. So there's a lot of people that aren't reading comic books currently that probably see Uncanny Spider-Man and have no idea what the heck's going on here. It was a mini series. It was like a kind of a one and done type of thing where it kind of came out of nowhere. They just put him in the suit. I think it's 5 issues, and then it was done. That's it. So this is probably more objectively speaking, Uncanny Spider-Man probably appears in far fewer issues of comic books than Owl does. So when somebody goes, Owl is like unwarranted, well, then so is this, right? Like that's what I'm saying. I love that they do the obscure stuff. I want more. I hope they keep doing it. So Gady's Toys, agreed. I want a Harry Leland to finish the Hellfire Club. Not exactly on most wanted lists, but I'd get excited. And I think a lot of people would. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, you got to wrap. There's enough Hellfire Club stuff now that I feel like you could sort of come back in with something like that. It's like, well, the fact that you have all the other ones, is paid off. You can now complete it by getting Harry Leland or something like that. Mr. Ryan Clark says, I acknowledge that I'm in the minority on Owl, just as there is someone else very excited for Hypno Hustler. Facts. Mr. Ryan Clark says, I just looked him up and I want that for both of us now. Gady's Toys. I think Hypno Hustler is probably right up your alley. Brick Something says, my brother's Legends collection is huge, and he skews towards the old school comics stuff. He's hyped on Werewolf by Night, Owl, Hypno Hustler, etc. Exactly. I want them to complete the comic book accurate Eternals. They gave us Icarus, and that was it. But I bought that one knowing that at some point they're probably going to do the rest of them, and then that Icarus figure is going to be impossible to find. I'll be kicking myself for not getting it, because I love the Jack Kirby Eternals, because I don't really care for DC enough that I never really got that deep into New Gods. So Eternals is sort of my Jack Kirby thing. Eternals and Fantastic Four, obviously. But those are sort of my Kirby things. Mr. Ryan Clark says, Brick, your brother gets cooler every minute. Well, I was going to talk about Cyberzoic stuff, but I will jump to this instead and then circle back. Brick's cooler brother has a website where he is doing really, really cool light up accessories. Imaginary Action Studios. It is imaginaryaction.com. And I will put the link. Well, I guess I can put it in the chat too, but I put maybe I can't. Hold on. I'll put it in the chat here. You guys can check it out on your own, and I will put it in the description down below the video once I'm done as well. Brick's cool brother is doing these, and they're really, really cool. So he's using little LED lights and like light filament to actually light these up as like handheld accessories. Very, very cool. Not quite like anything that I've seen before. So, you can see there, like there's fire pits and torches and candelabras and stuff like that. That looks rad. Available now on his website. Just launched the website yesterday, and very excited about these, and I definitely need to get some. I don't have any yet. Obviously, the site went live yesterday. So I'm very excited to get these in hand. Once I do, I'll definitely sort of let you guys know what I think. But if you don't want to wait for my opinion, go ahead and go order some. And again, you're right, Ryan Clark. Brick's brother is very cool, and keeps getting cooler as he keeps doing more cool projects. And Ryan Clark is backtracking here, I think. It says, I didn't say he was cooler than you, but he's leveling up quickly. And Josh Brown says, not having the wire hanging out is a game changer. That's how I feel too. The fact that these are lit, just independently, so you don't have to, mask a wire or hide it or anything like that. They don't have to plug into anything. These look super, super cool. So go check them out. As I said, I got to get some of these in hand for sure. Let's see. Gaze Toys. I need light up orbs, not for toys, but for my own dark arts. Well, these ones are toy scale. I think these are 112 scale-ish, 110 to 112 kind of thing. Josh Brown says he hit up your Brick's brother. I don't know what name he's supposed to go by on YouTube. So I'll just call him Brick's brother. It would be cool if we could get some of these 4 Legions Con, or but I assume Josh Brown, that's probably what you're talking about. Solo Center says need a magic staff with glowing orb. I didn't see. It's mostly fire stuff. It's mostly torches and candles and things at this point. But a glowing orb, I think, could be wave 2 or phase 2. He might already be working on it. I don't know. That's probably a better question for Brick. Brick's doing his video in about 25 minutes. Go on there and ask him. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Brick, do you have your brother on today so people can go and ask these questions? Or is that your next show? I don't know. Anyways, Brick's going to be on in 25 minutes. So, yeah, there it is. Oh, no, this one. Yes, it's today. Come today, Pressure Ted with all the ideas. Yes, let's do it. Let's get over in that chat and request all the orbs. Brick says, yeah, come tell him that, Solo Sinner. So, yeah, in 25 minutes, go over to the Brick Something channel. He's going to have his brother on, presumably talking about the imaginary action stuff that you see right in front of you here. As I said, I definitely am interested. I definitely want to get some. And yeah, the candles probably interest me the most, but like the fire pit is cool. And then, having a torch for like walking through, having your toys walking through caves and stuff like that. Dude, these are so cool. I have definitely seen product like this before, but it always has a little battery. It always has to be wired, or so you have to plug it into a dio, and then it's like, and then I kind of just lose interest. These are dope. Let's get lit. I like that. Anyways, moving back to these guys. The Zoic card game Kickstarter wrapped up on Thursday. They did awesome. I think they did about $56,000, like 300+% of their funding goal. So Zoic is coming. If you didn't get them, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You're going to be kicking yourselves, but you will still be able to get Zoic trading card game after the fact. You'll just have to wait till everybody else, like me, gets theirs and gets to play with it and, rub it in your face. And you could be jealous for a while until it's available at retail. I'm super excited about this. But the reason that I wanted to talk about Creative Beast Studios is because they still... Okay, so Creative Beast Studios got the armors and the figures for the Cyberzoic Wave 1. They got the dinosaurs for... Wave A. They got the dinosaurs for Wave B. Then I think they also got some more dinosaurs. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in the warehouse, but it's still currently available at pre-order price on their website. So Creative Beast Studios website is creative-beast.com. I can put that in the chat too right now. And I will put it in the description as well once the video is done. But as I said, they still have pre-order pricing available until the end of the day today on all that stuff that has just arrived. If you're thinking about getting any of that stuff, get it right now. Because the difference is like $10 for some things. Even more, like $14 difference for the Cyberzoic Utah Raptor. The previous Utah Raptor is now sold out. So if you've been waiting, get it now. $14 less than you'll get it if you order it tomorrow. I'm kicking myself because I didn't order the Ectoglow Ecto 1, and then Hasbro upped their prices, and now it's like $8 more expensive, and now I'm just not going to buy it. That's my protest. Go and get some Cyberzoic stuff. Go and get some Creative Beast Studio stuff. As I said, a bunch of cool stuff up and available now. Stegosaurus looks dope. I have to get my order in for a baby mammoth and the Pachycephalosaurus. I was going to wait for the Cyberzoic versions, but I don't think Cyberzoic is going to get a baby woolly mammoth. I think we'll probably get the woolly mammoth, not the baby, so I got to get mine in for that. And then I'm also on the fence about, do I need more of the figures to army build a little bit more? Anyways, Creative Beast Studios got some dope stuff. I can't wait to get the armors and the figures for Cyberzoic. The dinos have been amazing, but really it's all sort of led up to this point. The Dino Riders aspect of it, I'm so excited about, and really can't wait. But as I said, if you didn't back that stuff on Kickstarter or in the backer kit or get a pre-order in before now is the time. Do yourself a favor and sort of go get that stuff. Brick said, I backed Zoic, got enough for me and the kids. Let's play online. Absolutely. I got enough stuff that I think I can have like 6 decks built if I did. Well, no, I can't, because I got, I think, enough starter packs or starter sets that I can do that. But just with the boosters and stuff like that, I could build more. And then I got extra mats and I got the bind. I got everything. This just in, Ross says we have late pledges. So you can still go over there and get Kickstarter stuff. It just won't. Maybe you don't have access to the same stuff. I don't know. If you missed it, go over. You still have time. You still have time. Go get some. Josh Brown says, now I have nothing but faith in them, but it's a little wild to launch and succeed another Kickstarter before we have our Cyberzoic stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think it's, as somebody that has, been involved in Kickstarters and is involved with a toy company and stuff like that, you can't always wait. You don't always want to wait. Because some things get delayed. I'm thinking of the brawlers. Things get delayed, and so you don't want to necessarily hold off on the next thing as a result of that. You do still have to kind of keep moving. And I think the card game is in a lot of ways like independent from the figures. And the card game delivery, they have scheduled for like February. So in the next kind of 6 months, we've got the armors and the figures that are in warehouse now for Wave A. Wave B should fully have arrived, in that next 6 months, and then I think Wave C is might just be at the tail end of that 6 months. Like, from what I understand, it's all happening at a very, very rapid pace now, and the cards will be out as well. So, this time next year, Creative Beast Studio is going to be an absolute juggernaut. They're developing a tabletop game as well. So not only will they have a tradable card game, but they're doing a tabletop game as well. My brain is so fried by all the other stuff that they're doing that I haven't even asked them about that yet. But I will probably back that one too. Wesley K says, I backed the card game, got a bunch of the Cyberzoic stuff on the way, and can't wait. Brick said, Chris's video about the Dryptosaurus compelled me to buy that and the armor kit. Once I thought I was out, they pulled me back in your face. Now you know how it feels. Yeah, and Ross says, and this is to your point, Josh. Ross says the factory takes so long that they had enough time to develop and sort of put out and do a Kickstarter of a card game that's still going to arrive before some of the other stuff does. So it's I get it. I love it. I mean, and like I said, you could just wait till it comes out at retail. You just buy it when it's at retail, and then it doesn't really matter that they're doing multiple Kickstarters. I totally understand that. There's people that just have an aversion to Kickstarter stuff or to pre-orders that are sort of a long way out or what have you. I get it. Josh Brown says, yeah, make use of the time. Yeah, exactly. Also drastically different products. Yeah. Brick says, sounds to me like you should have got an Arctic Dragon, Josh Brown. But he did. Yeah, the Dragon Clan. I can't wait for the next dragon. I call dibs on the Serpent Dragon test shot. Ross. If anybody gets it, it's me. The Bubblegum Wings Dragon. Looks awesome. Maybe my favorite test shot that I've ever seen because of those bubblegum wings. Anyways, it's 3:30. Brick is going to be on in 15 minutes with his brother talking about his new project, which, like I said, is rad. I should go check that out. Russ says, I don't think Dave is going to give it up. Well, never say never. Anyways, guys, it has been a pleasure. Thank you guys for hanging out. I will be back next week. I will be back next week talking about Legions Con, and I might have some Space Zombies from Mars news. I might not. I might just be able to tell you that we have more news that we can't share. But yeah, come hang out next week. We'll do it all again. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Now that's a country song. Living and loving and driving fast cars, whether I'm here
I'm on Mars. I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go. Well, I woke up this morning feeling pretty damn tired. I was up all night at a moonlight fire. There was beer, whiskey, beautiful girls, but you know we can't afford no diamonds and pearls. So I told them I was famous for singing this song. I thought for a while I'd strung them along. One said, fellas, got a pretty good game. Tomorrow I won't even remember his name. Well, living and loving and driving fast cars. Whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. But I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go. I'll play that just like your daddy taught you.